Welcome, Nick. It's good to see you. We have
Hello,
another
JP. Good to see
episode.
you. Yes, we
That's
do.
it's really exciting. It's closer together because we had to push the last one. But luckily, there's enough happening every day that it doesn't matter. We could do this almost like weekly, I feel like, and we have enough content.
Could. We really could.
Ah, it's fantastic. How are you doing? How's everything going for you?
Doing well. Life is good. Yeah, life is really good on the AI front and also on the weather front. Here in the Netherlands, we've had really nice weather. 55 degrees most days, 55, 60, sun. So, I mean, not LA weather, but getting close, getting close.
I was gonna say, like, I think we got spoiled. I think last weekend it was like 80, 85 here. It felt like a typical summer
Oh
day. We
no.
were at the beach. I was like, what is going on? I was like, those are the times you're like, it's all worth it paying the high prices and the rents here and stuff like that.
Yeah. Nice.
No, it's been beautiful. Perfect weather. I'm excited. And since you are staying, we should take this offline, but since you are staying in the Netherlands, we should figure out how we can meet up. I'm gonna be there in the summer. Um,
Oh, let's do it.
we should definitely
That'd
meet
be fun.
up. If we can't make it
Yeah.
happen in the United States, we make it happen in Europe.
Maybe we can host one of our podcasts live together.
Oh my God, yes, we should actually do this. I love the idea.
Yeah,
Maybe
great.
I should fly into Amsterdam after all and not fly into Frankfurt.
I think you need to change your flights. Yeah.
Oh gosh. Okay, cool. But let's see. We have a couple exciting things. Thanks to
Yes, we do.
you, I lost a lot of hours. Um, Diving into OpenClaw, I got OpenClaw pilled, so to say.
Oh
I'm
boy.
absolutely obsessed. I love it. Thank you, Nick, for pushing me to prepare for this, to prepare a demo and kind of get familiar with it. Um, it is incredible.
Let's go. JP,
But
I want to hear.
before we jump in, we got a little teaser. Um, let's cover our industry news. Let's go over what's happening.
Okay.
Couple of spicy topics happened.
Yep,
Um, couple
definitely.
of couple of updates, but kick it off. You have the first two agenda items, so I'll let you
Yes.
lead it and kick it off.
Sounds good. So, one thing that we forgot to mention last time was something that's called Hire a Human, which I think is a fascinating thing. This is a website where supposedly agents, will post and ask for human tasks. This could be anything from bringing a pizza to a certain location, or transferring money, or doing various things on this website. And so thought that was also a very interesting new direction. There are a
Yep.
lot of creative ideas out there. This one, I mean, how much of it's true, how much of it's actually agents, and how much of it's humans behind the agents, still up for debate, but still a fascinating idea.
Absolutely. No, I think it's absolutely crazy. Like we're having like almost like a brand new economy. If you think about it, like there's like a whole new way to make money. Um, I think that agents will basically become like a brand new economy where products literally just work based on agents. Um, and it's kind of crazy, right? Because you have these agents and they're like kind of like your personal assistants, chief of staff, so to say. Um, and you're like, go stand in line and go buy me this ticket. And it's like, well, I can't do that. And like, it's like, go hire a human to do it. It's like now your agent basically finding somebody to do it. And you have like the DoorDash network hooking into like your
Yeah.
tasks. It's kind of crazy. It kind of reminds me of like, did we talk about this last time? That Waymo is now paying DoorDashers to close the
Yes.
doors.
Yeah.
So apparently
You mentioned that.
they're getting $15 per car per closed door. I'm like, this is insane. I mean, it's so intelligent, but it's like it's so insane to think about like that we're not hiring humans to close cars on autonomous vehicles. It's like it's so funny. It kind of reminds me of that.
And the thing is, like, I really think, and what I've heard from various people, that's going to be the future, where we're going to be automating as much as we can for jobs, and the things that we can't automate that humans still need to do, they're going to do, and they're going to get paid well for it. So if you can find those things that are special for humans that can't be automated, do those, because that's where you're going to make the money. I think.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think there is so much getting commoditized over the next couple of years. Like if you think about like some of these things were unheard of, like only if you were like super rich you could maybe do it. Um, but you know, the same thing as like a chief of staff, personal assistant, like coaching, I think is like a huge opportunity. But it's kind of getting commoditized by AI, and so now everybody can have these types of things basically. Um, and so it makes total sense to me. I mean, look, at the end of the day, we hire somebody, we have DoorDash um, to get us food, get us groceries. Like, might as well, you know, might as well have that economy as well. I think it actually makes a total sense. Anyway,
Yeah,
that's definitely a fun tidbit of like the OpenClaw saga.
that is, and we'll hear more of that soon. I'm sure. I'm sure.
Yes, yes.
But yes, and the next thing that I wanted to mention is this whole uproar of the SaaS apocalypse. There was also about $1 trillion of sell off of SaaS products and software products out there in the last month or so. And they're calling it the SaaS apocalypse. They're saying that SaaS is dead. And there are a lot of thoughts going back and forth of if we can have agents that we can just connect to our data and information, we can ask it questions. Why do we use SaaS products? So yeah, there are a lot of questions about where that's going to go. Do you have any thoughts on that, JP?
I do. I think that I think where you can see this is kind of related. You're relating it to like the Claude announcement, right? So like when
Mm-hmm.
Anthropic comes out, it's like, hey, we're doing now security applications or we're doing financial applications. And so every time there's an announcement by Anthropic saying that we're now supporting this as part of Claude, you see just like all the stocks tumbling, right? So like security announcement came out, like Okta and like some other companies basically went down like 5 to 10% each. Um, and I think it's very interesting. I don't think it's necessarily the end of SaaS. I think what's really happening here is the unpredictability of how these companies are underwritten. Because if you look at the multiple, they're basically saying like, oh yeah, they're 15x multiples. They're looking ahead and like in 15 years they're going to be fine. And so now it's kind of like readjusting to maybe like a 10, 11x multiple. And they're saying, I underwrite this asset for 10 years, no longer for 15 years. So I think SaaS is definitely not dead, but I do think that there is a lot of uncertainty of will this be around in 10 years? Like,
Yeah.
will this just be replaced? And I think that is actually a very good question to ask that creates like some uncertainty. Like, trust me, like Salesforce will not go away overnight. Like, their business model is huge. They have a ton of customers. You're not going to migrate all of these people overnight into like an agentic workflow all of a sudden. It's just not realistic, right? Um, but I think what's important is like, what's interesting is like, how much of their revenue is going away because there's less people working at companies. There's other tools coming out. People are churning into other solutions, basically. So truly, the question is like, is there still the growth? And if there's not a growth or there's not necessarily like that certainty, then like, what is the true value of this company? So it is very interesting. Again, I'm not a doomsday person, so I hope that this is not going to come true, but I do think there's like a little bit of a reevaluation going on.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, I think with smaller SaaS companies, I think that there's a lot of risk there. If you're only doing if you only have a few features with your SaaS, then yeah, that's definitely at risk. If you're a Salesforce where you take care of a lot of different features and a lot of different parts of the company, way less of risk there. And if you think about it, like if you're using a Claude or a ChatGPT, you kind of want AI to have the breadth of knowledge of everything that you're looking at, so that it has all the information and can create the best stuff for you. And so, yeah, there are a lot of products out there that are building their own AI in their product. That's one direction. But then also there's a direction of integrating with Claude or with ChatGPT and being able to look at that information there. So it's so unclear where this is going. I don't think it's dead. I think it's going to be evolving, and that's definitely the case here. And I mean, as we see, like I really think the future value capture is going to be with AI, more so than SaaS. It's the new hot topic. It's the new hot area. And so that there is momentum towards that, and what that's going to look like, we're going to have to see. So, but it's still $1 trillion sell off, which was pretty huge. So yeah,
Yes. It's yeah, again, I think starting a company right now is so hard because there's so many opportunities and you don't know what's going to zero basically.
yeah,
Um, I saw like I even like companies like Lovable, like V0, Bolt, like there's so many of these competitors out there, right? Like I don't know, like obviously they have a UI, like it's a great product. I use Lovable every day basically. We use it for prototyping, all that kind of stuff. But like I wonder if these tools are just going to get absorbed by
yeah,
larger, sophisticated companies, basically, not more sophisticated, but just like more general purpose companies, because all that stuff that needs to be like configured still is kind of just like going away and it becomes like abstracted away, right? And so, like, if you solve that problem through agentic intelligence, like the question is like, can you just do the same thing in ChatGPT basically or in Codex, right? And then you're already paying for that, so why would you pay for a second product? So I think it's super interesting. Yeah, just fascinating times to be alive. I think this is the most exciting time. I think this is actually more exciting than the internet coming out because like the internet, it took years to actually like
yeah,
get adopted, get built out, all that stuff, right? Like it took like 20, 30 years for the internet really to be adopted widely. Now everybody is already on the internet, so like the adoption rate of AI is just like insane, which is when you look at these evaluations and if you look at like the revenue growth, then it's just like peaking. Apparently, like Anthropic now, like the creator or like the company behind Claude, it's at $20 billion in revenue already. Like that's just unheard of. Like so fast, like absolutely massive in growth. But they just topped the number one iOS app chart. Basically, became the number one, which is perfect. A perfect segue into our next agenda item, because there was a reason. There was a little bit of a outburst on why they reached the ladder maybe. Um, but I think it was interesting. I would love to get your take on this. But the Anthropic just get banned by the U.S. government, by the Department of War. They basically had a contract fallout. They were negotiating who is going to be the partner, and it was interesting. I think there's two sides to it, but just to kind of keep it neutral and keep the context to it, basically Anthropic said like, hey, we have these two certain clauses. A, we don't want to do massive surveillance, and B, we don't want to use our tech for killing bots. Basically, we're not ready for it. Um, and so they got thrown out, and they're now being shunned and said like, hey, nobody should be using Claude and Anthropic. And instead, who came around? Sam Altman from OpenAI, and they just closed the deal on with the Department of War. And obviously, XAI is involved as well from Elon. They have a couple of contracts as well in place. But that kind of like led to this whole outburst of like people canceling ChatGPT subscription. And then Claude is now like kind of like the hero of the people because they kind of like said no to the government, and so there was like this massive shift basically in the perception of the people, and so a lot of people canceled ChatGPT and went to Claude. There's a couple more details to it, but what is your take? Especially, I'm curious, like on the European side, like how was it news? Did it even break the news, or was this kind of like of it because you're an American basically?
yeah. Because I'm in the AI world, I definitely knew about it, and people definitely chatted with people about this. Um, there are some nuances to this that we'll talk about, I'm sure. But uh, in general, I do think um, a few things. One thing, it's I did really appreciate them sharing the 2 points of what they were standing up for and what they're going for there. And but also in the grand scheme of things with AI, there are enough other organizations and companies to jump in and to do that because of how capital intensive that space is and how needed those projects are, for both the U.S. but also for those companies in terms of capital. So it's a messy world out there.
It
Um,
is.
yeah. Yeah.
From what I've heard is and what I've read, obviously like so many layers to it. It's like what do you believe these days anymore, right? It's like the Jim Carrey like thing. It's like what do you even believe these days anymore? Um, but what I've heard is basically that he was asked a question like Dario, the CEO of Anthropic, was like, hey, if there's like a nuclear bomb approaching the US, would you give us like your approval to basically use your tech to shoot it down? And his answer was like flat out, it's like, no, but you can call us and consult us. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like, there's probably a more like a better answer maybe to say like, yeah, absolutely. Like when it comes to saving lives, absolutely. Like, just do what you gotta do. Or like that sounds interesting. Let's work on a solution. Like we're not there yet. But to flat out say like, no, you gotta call us and consult us was probably like not the right answer maybe in that moment. So it's TBD. I think all marketing is good marketing at the end of the day. All publicity is good publicity. It kind of helped them to jump up the ladder, and I think that the money they probably lost out in the contract, they probably already made up with personal subscriptions by just becoming
Yeah.
the number one app in the App Store. So I think in the
Yeah.
grand scheme of things, I think they're probably fine. But yeah, it's so interesting. It's so politicized in the U.S. right now because it's so polar opposite everything, right?
Yeah.
It's really hard to find like just a good conversation these days.
Yeah. Look, I do think that Anthropic is they're really trying to push the needle on making sure that society has as much information as possible to know how to deal with AI and how to bring it into society in a good way. They've done many other things. I mean, Dario comes out with a blog post about the negative externalities, the positive things. And of course, many people are like, yeah, you can write a blog post, but you're not really like doing anything about it. But they do so much more as well. They've also come out with a constitution for how to write prompts and how to do things in a much more sort of positive light, and how to really make it work for you as a user. And they also share data on. They were the first to share data on the chats and on the topics of the chats. They say they do it by LLMs. They don't have humans reading any chats or anything. They just have it give a theme or topic. And that information is crucial for us to have. If we have that at the country level, at the state level, then you can make policy decisions. Then you can see sort of what sectors may be affected first with AI. And that sort of stuff, that information, I think is going to be critical for us to understand as we go through this so quickly, so much faster than we did with the internet.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I give him a lot of props and kudos for like just kind of standing up and like it's always good to see somebody stand up and just say no. And they do have like this reputation of a little bit more careful. Um, but at the same time, he says like like we have like safety concerns, but if a competitor comes out, we're just gonna push for it. I'm like, yeah, like what's really true
Yeah.
here, right? So it's like you
Yeah.
never know. But
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. They do a lot. They like do a lot of like safety stuff around like training and like they have like a whole institution around like getting people onboarded to it. Um, it's very interesting, right? Because they kind of like push the narrative of like yeah, it's gonna replace all people basically, and then they're like still hiring a ton of software engineers for like top dollars, like for $400,000. You're like, yeah, that just one
Yeah.
doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
No, but they're doing great work. Like, trust me, like I think that Claude has done a phenomenal job at pushing out all of these different tools with co-work and code. Um, and again, we talked about it. Like, it became like my main driver, to be honest, on like my day-to-day stuff. And so I use Claude for most of the day-to-day stuff when it comes to just prompting and asking questions. It's connected to a bunch of stuff that I have. So it has all the context, which is nice. And it works really, really well. So I've been using it a lot. I'm still using Codex for some stuff on the coding side, but Claude is really kind of like my main driver today. And until I saw OpenClaw. But but no, for right now, it's still like my main driver. Um,
Nice.
cool. I think just one last thing, and then we jump into the OpenClaw saga that you pulled me
Yes.
into. Gemini coming out with a new model, the 3.5, 3.1 Flash model. I think the reason this is interesting, people like it's super cheap. It's very efficient model. It's really fast. Um, Great general purpose model of like just doing a bunch of different stuff. I think, is it in preview still, Nick, or do you think it's fully out yet? Do you know?
Well, I don't know. I thought it was fully out.
Oh, it's fully
Let me
out. Yeah,
see.
it's fully out as of 2 days ago. Yes.
Yeah.
Um, it's definitely crushing. It's really good. I've been using it actually in my OpenClaw as like my main day-to-day driver. And I have to say it works really good. It's really snappy and overall performance is great. Again, I think these things will just upgrade. I hope we just move away from all these different model names and versions and that we just move towards like auto, what ChatGPT does really well, and like just give it auto mode. Like just figure it out basically.
Yeah.
Nobody can
Yeah.
keep
I
up with
mean,
these
these
model
new
names.
models, yeah, the model names need to change. The they need better names. But the thing is, like these models, you're never as these new ones come out, it's so commoditized. The whole LLM space is very much commoditized, and it's interesting because when you're chatting with companies that are using various models, they'll build prompts, they'll build Gen AI chatbots on there, and they'll build everything on one model, and then new models come out, and then ChatGPT or others will say like, "Yep, we're gonna deprecate one of the older models," and they're like, "Damn!" All of a sudden, what cost us X amount now will cost us 7X because we have to switch to a newer model. So it's an interesting cost structure, I think, for what I've been seeing actually with companies and businesses of like, okay, yeah, we want to build on there, we want to work with it, but how do we make sure we can really measure the costs well and that we can forecast those costs moving forward?
Yes, I agree. I was actually like surprised by to kind of go back to the Anthropic topic or like the Claude like ramping up the charts, running up the charts. I was surprised that there is actually a shift and they're still very much up for grabs the consumer market. Like I thought ChatGPT had the consumer market really hard to pull people off. It
Yeah.
was really easy. Like it was like almost like too easy where I was like, whoa, like damn, that was quick. But the fact that they clearly don't own the consumer market, I think it's very interesting. It looks like people are very open to switching tools very rapidly. Um, like almost like losing their context, losing memory. I think just like a lot of people like to be honest, I think most people also like don't really use all the capabilities end to end. So for them, it's like
Yeah.
another interface. And setting up the connectors into your G Suite is like really easy. But also Claude, I think they just they came up with an import memory functionality. So you can now actually easily export your memory from ChatGPT and import it into Claude. So the migration is very seamless. So I thought that was a very clever move as part of like the whole stuff that was going on, the whole
Yeah.
controversy, basically.
That is clever. Yeah, and for companies to reduce risk, they're trying to be able to make it so that it's easy to transfer if
Yeah.
you need to other models and to other setups. And then here in Europe, you have even more of an issue where with GDPR and other things, it needs to be sort of housed here in Europe. And then how do you do that when you're working with Claude or
Yeah.
ChatGPT? Like that's very difficult.
I don't know how that works. They got to like, I think they realized they went too far. I think I saw some news. They're like, I think we kind of like screwed ourselves here. We got to like pull back some like,
Yeah,
policies again. But like,
yeah,
that takes time. Like, pulling back policies, I think, is even worse than like making policies. So like,
yeah.
good luck on that side. But actually, good question, Nick. Like, do you guys have issues with that? Like, are you guys
Yeah.
like restricted in like what you can use because of that, and companies really care, or they're like, yeah, let's do it.
There are some companies that have set up ways to go around that a little bit.
Hmm.
Microsoft Azure and others, where you can make sure that the servers that you work with are housing the chats and the history and the information in servers in Europe. So they are creating workarounds slowly but surely. But yeah, it's a pain. You can't you it's harder to prototype and test things
Yeah.
when if you start using real user data, because then it has to be local hardware that you rent and then have a local LLM. So it's really interesting to see sort of what's coming out here, and what's coming out in the US. And then now there are some companies, some LLMs, local LLMs that are being built in these countries that are like, yeah, now it's GDPR safe and everything, and you can use it here.
Got it.
And yeah, hopefully trying to reach the benchmarks of the classic
Yes.
main ones. But yeah,
That's a good point. Yeah, because obviously Azure has the contract with OpenAI. They have like their own model version of it, so they can probably do that. AWS Bedrock as well, for the Anthropic models.
that's a good question. I would have to check. I would have to check. I've only heard about the Microsoft Azure doing that.
Got it.
If if one's doing it, I'm assuming Amazon
Yeah.
would probably be doing that too, since
Yeah.
they have a good stronghold here as
And
well.
Google as well with the Gemini models. Yeah, curious to know. Very, very interesting. I mean, obviously, there's also scarcity around like a GPU, so it's not that easy to just spin up like the stuff in different regions. It's a very big hardware investment, so it's a little bit more difficult than before than just spinning up like a server.
Yeah.
Cool. I honestly
right.
I love this that you're like in Europe and we kind of get a different perspective sometimes now because like
Yeah.
it's a worldwide thing, right? So I think
Yeah.
it's really cool because it opens up some opportunities. It opens up some different ideas on how to solve problems basically. Um,
Yeah.
I'm always fascinated by the Latin America market of like how they solve some of the problems in the medical space and like the health space because they don't have the infrastructure. So, you just get your X-ray scans in your G drive because they don't have the capacity to store all these images for you. And I'm like, I want that. Like, don't give
Yeah.
me that stupid CD. Like, what am I doing with the CD? Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, right. I mean, and that's what you see. You see a lot of potential leapfrogging
Yeah,
happening because in certain countries because of the regulation in some countries, not regulation in others,
yeah,
and kind of seeing where that jumps. It's pretty cool.
awesome. All right, cool. Heavily announced, heavily teased, but here we are. We are ready for our OpenClaw demo. We're ready for our OpenClaw presentation slash whatever we do. Where am I gonna start? Honestly, Nick, like I was blown away by how well this thing works. It also was a little bit of a reality check of
Uh-huh.
there's definitely a hype. There's definitely some things that annoy the living crap out of me. Um, so to everybody who's listening, I think if you run a business or if you want to start a business, you must have OpenClaw. I think that it is going to accelerate everything that you do. Here is the caveat. It is quite technical still. So there is like it's not like just an interface. It's definitely more complicated when it comes to the setup. Within the first 10 minutes, I locked myself out. I had to like SSH into the machine and like fix the configuration. And so it's definitely in the beginning a little bit of brittle and a lot of setup. But once it's working, oh my, it is working very well. So to kind of like go back a little bit, let me share my screen. Window, there we go. OpenClaw. Let me just share the actual OpenClaw website here. But really, if we think about OpenClaw, this is the open source project. What that means is the community is working on it. You can just install this on your local machine. You can install it on your laptop. You can buy specific hardware, or you can buy like a server in the cloud and you can just talk with it. Why is it so hyped? Why is it so cool? First of all, that fact. You can just run it on your machine, which is awesome. You can talk to it via like WhatsApp, Telegram, Discord, Slack, really any type of messaging platform. It memorizes stuff. It has full system access. You can browse the web and it has certain skills and plugins. All sounds great. What does this mean? So basically, there is a couple of partners out there, and I picked one that is called Hostinger. So similar to DigitalOcean. The reason I liked Hostinger, you can see it right here, one-click OpenClaw. So I think this is pretty cool because it kind of takes away some of the configuration and some of like the basic stuff that you have to do. And what they also do, which is really cool, because OpenClaw obviously only knows as much as you give it like inputs into tokens. So you have to sign up for an Anthropic account, OpenAI account, blah, blah. They kind of like black box that. So they have like their own wrapper for like any of the models, and you can just pay Hostinger to basically like be the API provider for your tokens. So when you log in, you basically see this. I'm just going to go open my OpenClaw. It will ask me for a password. So let me get my password here. And they have a UI. So I've been chatting about, and you can just see what's going on here. It's just like really just like a chat. A lot of stuff is going on here. I don't actually see most of this, to be honest. This is all happening in the background because I communicate through Telegram. But what's cool is you can have like the overview of like what's going on. You can see different channels. So you can see there's like Telegram set up. I have WhatsApp. You can also see the agent. So you can see I'm using OpenRouter Kimi K2. I'm using OpenRouter Gemini 3.1 Flashlight. These are the providers, like Nexus is kind of like the provider from Hostinger basically. But I went the route of using OpenRouter. And OpenRouter, just if you don't know, is basically this unified interface for all LLMs. So what they do is they have all of the models in here, and you just pick which model, like GPT 4.5.4 Pro, they already have it. Release date today. Did the announcement come out while we're filming this, that GPT 5.4 came out? That's crazy.
Maybe it did.
Wow. That's insane. But anyway, they have all the models. They even have like the open source models like Kimi K2, and they have US hosting partners for that. And basically what they do is they route it automatically based on who's available, and there's like certain pricing available you can look up. Very cheap, and it kind of like fluctuates based on the provider. All right, having said all of that stuff, you can then see all the tools and files that exist. So here's kind of like my agents MD file, which is like, hey, this is JP's operation headquarters. I treat it with care as it deserves. My name is Elliot. I'm the chief operating officer. So I trained it. So over the time, I basically gave it a soul. I gave it a user ID. I gave it a memory, like what to remember. How does the memory system work? So like now it basically creates a file every day of what we talked about. So if I go back and be like, hey, what did we talk about last week? It can remember that. It can actually look up what happened. And I kind of set it up in a way where like, what do you do? You know, like what if I ask you about X, like check your memory and then check relevant files. There's sub agents. So now I have a sales scout that looks for like member research, churn analytics, lead qualifications. It's running actively. I have a whole project management setup where I basically tell it like, hey, whenever we discuss something new, go store it in like a Kanban board, basically store all the context. So if I don't have time to finish it up right here and then, we can kind of pick up the conversation later. So like there's already a project management tool built in. There's a bunch of skills that come built in. So it can access your 1Password, bare notes. It has access to Discord, Gemini, you know, all these things kind of like GitHub. So like all these things are basically like pre-configured. And so Hostinger uses like this UI. To be fair, I do not use the UI. I think the UI is actually more complicated and an anti-pattern to how this whole thing should work. Really what I do is I talk to it in my Slack and I talk to it in Telegram basically. And so what's really cool is, second, I'm preparing it.
So even the setup with the MDs and how the agent works and with memory and stuff, did you have to create those yourself, or was that already sort of like pre-built in there because of Hostinger, or was that because of what already was set up with OpenClaw? How did that sort of work?
Yeah, great question. So basically, OpenClaw comes with like this concept already of like, hey, I have an agent file, I have a heartbeat, I have users, like that. That concept comes with OpenClaw. What Hostinger did is kind of like simplifying the API provider story, so you don't have to like actually use all these different keys and stuff like that. But I still set up my own provider because I like to be in control and not be locked into a certain Hostinger solution. And I think that was it. And it would just spin up, so you don't have to like log into a terminal and be like, go install this in a command line. It just auto installed like basically everything it needs for OpenClaw. So that was basically the biggest thing. And then I started chatting in WhatsApp, where basically you use your own phone. You basically text yourself, and then I kind of got over it. There's like limitations in WhatsApp around the formatting. So now I have a Slack bot and I have a Telegram bot. So I use mostly Telegram now to basically communicate with it. And it will just like respond to me. And so the way that looks like is, let me share my screen window. So we talked about we're setting up some stuff in GitHub. So yep, so I now have an OpenClaw window here. And we're just talking about like setting up and giving access to GitHub. So I set up their own user account so they can access all the repositories. They authenticate it. And then, let's see, let's go up a little bit. All right, cool. So I basically said like, hey, like these are reports that we need. These are repositories. And then I want you to kind of figure out a way for you to understand like what each repository does. How does it work? If I ask you to make a change, you kind of like know how to navigate it. And so it came up with this whole plan basically of like what to do. I was like, great, let's do it. And boom, it just pulled down all the repositories. It created files. It created like a structure for itself. It basically taught itself of like how to navigate this. And you can see my instructions are very minimal, and it just kind of like figures it out basically. There were some authentication problems, so I provided like the token, and then boom, sure enough, it's all done. So how is this different to like a Claude, for example? The cool thing is, if you just tell it to figure it out, it will figure it out. It's like a recursive process almost of like, here's a good example. When I'm on the go, I don't like to type a lot. So on my computer, I use Whisperflow to basically dictate. But when I'm in the car, for example, I like to send like audio notes. And so obviously for an AI to understand audio notes, it needs to transcribe the audio to understand the text. Without saying anything, I send the audio file. It installed a local transcribe model that's free. It transcribed the text and it understood what I was asking basically. And that, I think that is the beauty. So it just automatically knew like what to do. It looked up what the right tools are and it installed something locally to basically figure out how to communicate with me. And then over time, you can basically give it tasks. So like now we have I gave it access to like our database, our CRM. So now it can look at all the Get Vibe members. It can see when they last log in. It can give it bucket into categories, give me a sales report every week and who signed up, who's new, who hasn't logged in this week. And so I didn't have to do much. I was kind of like asking like, hey, you're like a sales associate. You're like my community manager. Help me figure this thing out. And we kind of like just like planned through it, and it gave me suggestions, asked me a bunch of questions, and then it just does it. And you're like, here's my API key to the kingdom, and then it will like go run off, and it will just do it basically. So it's pretty cool. And then you can say like, do it every week, do it every day, and then it will just run in the background. And you don't have to actually do anything. It will just run in the background. It's always available. And so now I'm diving into marketing stuff for this podcast and into some other stuff. I'm spinning up this engineer now named him Guilfoyle from the Silicon Valley TV show, basically. And then at the top of it is kind of like my Elliot, I call it my chief of staff, basically. So I don't have to like navigate who I'm going to talk to. I basically say like, go do this thing, and then I'll figure out like what sub agent to use. And the reason the sub agents are important is because you want to obviously give each role the context, right? You want to teach each role what to do. And I think this is where you don't get enough information on the web, and like where it almost becomes like too easy. It's like it says it's so easy. It is like training a human. It is like you have to explain the things that you want, how you want to get it done. And that is a good thing, because what you don't want is like going randomly off and like sending the random emails, right? So you actually have to take the time and think through the process, think through how it should work, teach them, explain it, and then it will memorize it, and it will become smarter over time, and it will memorize stuff, and it'll be great at that. But you have to spend a lot of hours just to teach and train, because there's so many like variations of how to do stuff, right? And so that definitely takes hours, but it's addicting, because you're like, I want to teach you more, I want to teach you more, I want to do this. So again, I've already set up a sales agent, I've already set up like my engineer now, and the next thing is marketing. And then I'm basically just want to be like, I want to do this thing, like, and then What it does is, because I basically just talk to one, if I need marketing and engineering stuff done, it will just like delegate it automatically. It will just run. Like that's the cool part. It's like I'm organizing this event. I need to have a flyer. I need to set up an email campaign. I need to set up this. And then because it has access to all my tools, it will just run and do this basically. Like that is the cool part. And it will draft the email content. It will draft the newsletter. It will create it. It will include the right segment. It will draft the SMS blast. It will create a flyer using like, nano banana models, for example. So that's what's insane. And so I'm really excited about this. I think it definitely takes a lot of time to set up and get it right. And I do think it requires a bit of, not a bit, a heavy investment in terms of teaching and technically be just like knowing what to do basically. So it's very, very technical still. And even though I use very cheap models, within 2 days I already racked up like $40 just like by talking to it basically.
I was about to ask.
Yeah, so I already burned through $40 of credits basically. But I think once it's set up, like, I think that's where it becomes really cool. But I was listening to This Week in Startups by Jason Calacanis, and they were doing it as well. They're like heavily into it. And yeah, they were doing the same thing. They were analyzing like YouTube videos. And as you can imagine, like going through content and video long form, it takes a lot of tokens. So I think they got to like $500 a day of usage of like just tokens basically, right? So like they're like exceeding payroll almost of like what this thing takes. So it's like, it's kind of crazy. But again, that's when people like are now setting up like local models and you can kind of connect it locally. So I think the future is definitely there because like you as a founder now can become so much more. And especially once you trained it, it's great. I think there is definitely like a long period of ramp up before it becomes super useful. So I would say it probably will take me like 2-ish weeks to like actually see like the first like wow effect of like, wow, this just got done basically. But I think that's okay because like that's fine. Like that's how it should be, right?
Well, definitely keep us updated on that. I have so many questions.
Please ask.
One,
yes.
Thinking and training.
Yes.
First off, or teaching and training. That's a term we hear with like LLMs and training models and stuff. Like, what does that mean in this case? Was it like a chat back and forth? Was it a prompt, like changing the prompt? How does that look for this?
Yeah. So you don't actually change necessarily. You basically just talk to it. So like you talk to like a human, a regular conversation of like, let's just say the categorization of who's active versus not. It made a plan. It suggested of like, hey, here's the 4 buckets. These are the 5 criteria. And then you kind of go back and forth of like if you agree or not. And then how often we should reach out. And then once you agree, you have to basically instruct them, be like, okay, memorize this, like go make this an instruction basically. And then over time it gets more intelligent. Like you can basically say like, I don't want to say this every time. Like if we come to a conclusion that looks like something that's a decision, like go memorize it automatically basically. So for example, in the beginning I said like, hey, if we plan something that's more complex, use this model. If we just chat easy questions, like go use this model by default. And so now I don't have to say each time like go use a certain model. It just knows whenever there's like a more complex task, it will pick a more complex model. And if it's like regular chatting, it's like an easier model basically.
Interesting. So I mean, it's teaching it, but it's also teaching you how to like best work with this, with OpenClaw, and like what sort of. And you're probably now, after even a few days, you're probably now thinking like, okay, this is another process I can give it, and this is something else it can memorize, and like, it's sort of building processes and operations on top of each other, rather than just like a go do this and it does it perfectly.
Exactly. That's absolutely right. And what's also interesting is that where the frustrating part comes in. So I left it. I talked to it all day. Then I went to bed, obviously. I sent like a voicemail the next day in the car, and it's like I don't know how to I don't know what to do with this audio file. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, he just used it all day. I was like, what is going on? And so I was like, we did this yesterday. I was like, I have no recollection of yesterday. I'm like, oh my God. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. It's, and you kind of see it's a machine, right? So, but then we kind of went
Did you
through
have
it
to start all over again?
more or less. You had to basically say
Yeah.
like, here's what we do as part of like how I communicate with you, blah, blah, blah. And then
And
I'm
then
like,
you were like, okay, memorize this because now I'm not doing this anymore.
memorize this. And then it started like, okay, like since I forgot this. Oh, but here's the crazy part. He's like, since I forgot this, let me create a structure for daily memory files. So if you ask me something for like last week, I can actually remember it and I can look for it. I'm like, genius. Because you don't want to
Wow.
have it all in one file, right? Because then you have a context bloat. And so I think that's where the cool part is. It's like thinking of things you don't actually think of. It's actually
Yeah.
intelligent. And so it it is mind blowing. And so I think these tips and tits like that come up basically, those are the things that sets OpenClaw very much apart from like an Anthropic or like an OpenAI and how they work today.
Yeah. Very cool. Another question. So there were so many. There's a lot of like scary posts of it posting or it reaching out to everyone in your WhatsApp. It deleting a lot of emails or information.
Yes.
How did you see any of that for you, or how did you sort of like tackle that?
Great question. So what is very important here, permissions and authentication is everything. So I have not given access to any of my Gmail stuff, for example, but rather, or like code committing through my username. It's like I set up a dedicated GitHub username, basically. I set up a dedicated email. It's very like dedicated to its own like information, basically. So you have to be very careful of like what you give access to. And then if you give access, give specific instructions of like what it is allowed to do and what's not allowed to do, basically. So that's very important because again, like teaching somebody, it will just go rogue and it'd be like, well, you told me to like cultivate all these leads, so I went out there and emailed like 1,000 people, basically, right? It's like, well, I wanted to cultivate leads, but like maybe consult with me first, you know? So it's like over ambitious in that sense. So it's definitely possible if you, that's I think that's where the technical part comes in. It's like right now, I think for the average user, this is like over the top too much. Do I think that there will be companies that will simplify this? Yes, absolutely. Do I think that there is actually even a business model to sell OpenClaw agents and implement them in businesses? Yes, absolutely. But yeah, because these things can happen very quickly, right? It's like give it too much access, and all of a sudden it's like, well, you told me to like clean up your inbox, so I deleted half your inbox. I'm like, whoa,
Whoa, that's yeah,
it's like
yeah,
too
exactly.
logical, right? It's like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
you're kind of right, but yeah,
yeah, and it helps. It's these sort of scenarios though that are going to make us learn how to better prompt also,
yeah.
and how to better interact with it to get what we want it to do, and have it not do that. Can you set it to like read only for like the Google Drive
Yep.
or certain things?
Yeah, so funny enough, Google yesterday came out with a Google CLI basically, where you can control all the G Suite via CLI, which is great for agents. And yes, you can just say like, hey, you only have read-only permissions, for example. And I think that's the important part. It's like you just set it up as read-only in the beginning. Um, and then once you feel more confident and once you kind of feel like you have all the guardrails in place, then you give it like write permissions, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely coming. I do think that crypto will play a huge role in the agent economy. I think that there's going to be a lot of transactions happening between agents or between different companies through agents, basically, a agentic layer. And it makes total sense for them to use crypto to transact because an agent can't open a bank account. It's too slow, it's too expensive. But an agent can open a wallet, or you can create a crypto wallet, and then you can give it some money, and it can spend the money, and it can like do whatever, right? Um, so I think stable coins and the crypto network in general become like a huge, huge, huge part of the AI agentic flow, and that's why I think there will be like a whole economy focused on agents. I think there will be companies that will sell products just for agents.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's going to be also the new the SEO, right? Like
Yes.
there's going to be a new way of trying to sell whatever you're trying to sell to agents,
Yes.
because that's where the money is going to be, because it's really going to be you want somebody else's agent to say yes, let's buy your product, and that's going to be the new SEO. And what that looks like, or what information needs to be there, we're still figuring that out, and we're still sort of seeing what that looks like. So all the dust is in the air. Super
Yep.
interesting. Cool.
I think another thing, just to kind of show it real quick, is if I have it in Slack, so giving you an example of how stupid it sometimes is, but then it just requires like teaching. So I basically asked like, hey, what's the status of James? And it's like, I'm digging through our records, get you access to I checked our records, JP, and James appears to be related to Terrytown Roofing. Yep, I don't see James active member, blah, blah. And I'm like, yep, what's his email? The email address listed here in the database is sales at, does this look like you were saying, blah, blah. So again, it probably needs to be like, again, taught now of like, if I ask it certain things on how to look up the data basically to give it some context, right? Because like the agent is it's just a data endpoint. So it's like, I don't know what James means. Like for me, it's a name that's clear, right? So
Yeah.
my next instructions would be like, hey, if I ask you for something in the sales channel, obviously like, this is kind of like how I interact. And so again, it's just teaching. It's just, but like once you go through it, it's fine, and then it gets better. But I think that's kind of like using open source here becomes really important because there's a lot of skills, a lot of like crowdsourced stuff out there. There's like agent skills around like engineers and like with instructions. And so I think, relying on those things will become very important. So you don't have to like do it every single time yourself and like build it from the ground up. Like there's a community of like hundreds of thousands of people that do this and have the same problem, and they outsource or they crowdsource their solutions basically.
Yeah. So are those other .md files or something that you can download, or are those prompts that you can
Yeah,
sort of
so you can
copy and
download
paste?
MD files, and they will basically be specific instructions for a skill. So when I create a sub agent, then they come with their own agent's MD file, their own identity and stuff like that. And it's already like written by hundreds of thousands of people and redefined. So like one really good one is skills.sh. It's specifically for like AI agents. And so you can very, very easily just install the skill, and it has like things like front-end design, Azure, Microsoft Foundry, Azure Agnostics, Agent Browser, brainstorming, PDF, SEO audit. And so by SEO, I don't have to teach like what a good SEO audit is. Like there's already hundreds of thousands of people that have done this. And so there's instructions of like what tools to use, what to look for, what metrics to use. And so now I have an SEO agent, like a perfect SEO person in-house, and I can ask questions. So like, I think that's why it's so powerful for small businesses, because
Yeah.
now you don't need to ask somebody and hire somebody to do this. You just ask the agent, and it's done within like minutes, basically.
Yeah. Super cool.
It's
Nice.
very fantastic.
What are some skills or some things that you're gonna try with it in the next week or so? Few
So
weeks.
I'm gonna report back. We're gonna keep
Yeah.
this king going.
Yeah.
But one thing is definitely that I want to do some development and like just give it some tasks of like what I want to make improvements on. I want to be able to do some proactive outreach when we like see members like not logging in. I want to be able to proactively reach out to them and automate that thing. And on the marketing side, I want to kind of figure out like, hey, if we do this podcast, can you automatically grab certain things and create a promo post on Instagram, for example? So, a lot of stuff that just takes like manual work. I want to give it to OpenClaw and kind of like see what it can do with it. So those are probably like the top three next things I want to try out. Um, and so yeah, we'll see. I'll keep you everybody
Cool.
posted.
Sounds good. I think you've
Um,
convinced me to try this too.
Oh, it's fun. And again, there's like various hosting solutions. There's even like hosting solutions that are specifically for OpenClaw, and they
Mm.
do auto updates, and like they basically do a lot more, and you pay like an additional $25 fee a month basically for the
Mm.
management. I don't think you necessarily need that, but
Yeah.
again, you can use it anywhere. You can even just put it on your Mac Mini and just install it there if you like feel like you want to like run it locally, which is totally fine. Um,
Yeah. Cool.
but yeah, look, we
Nice.
thought we didn't have enough, and sure
I
enough,
know.
We still have more on the agenda that we have to push to
And we
next
have
time.
more.
Yeah. I think
Exactly.
just like one small thing on the Asian side,
Yeah.
more companies are coming out with it, and I think a really cool one to watch is Notion. They have adopted the AI functionalities and agentic functionalities absolutely really well. We use Notion internally, and they now came up with Notion Agent, which is the same thing basically, but it's like it takes away all of like the technical stuff. And just within Notion, you can say like, go do this thing, like go write this report every week. And they can run in the background, which is the cool part. You can either trigger them through Slack or other stuff, or you can schedule them like a weekly or daily basis. So since Notion has like already connectors built in, like Claude, you can literally tell it like, hey, go review my day and send me a summary at 6 a.m. in the morning and tell me like what I should prepare for today. It will do that. And it will do it every day. And then what's cool is you can just talk to it in the Notion interface and you can train it and it will like change the settings and it will adjust. So very similar to OpenClaw. Obviously, it's like in its own ecosystem. It's like built, there's limitations to it. But what's the cool part is it abstracts all of the OpenClaw technical stuff into a very well working product, basically. And so we've been using Notion Agent as well. And so I think I'm really excited about this stuff, and I'm really excited about Notion. I think they're killing it right now,
Yeah.
and they're at the forefront. And even just like customer service, if you have documents in Notion, like it will just go through it. It will go through Slack. It will go through emails, and it will just answer. Like it's really smart, and yeah, it's a great product. So if you haven't checked out Notion, I think if you were interested in like agents and like saying OpenClaw is a little bit too technical, Notion Agent is a great alternative to that.
Yeah, I use Notion personally for a lot of information tasks, even journaling or ideas and everything. And with uh, the AI tools and features that they're coming out with, really, really interesting stuff that you can sort of connect to it. And
Yeah,
what's nice about Notion in general is it's how versatile it is, and how you can have a Kanban connect to a list, connect to something else, and you can have it all connect with each other as well. And a lot of that you can just say in Notion AI and say like, hey, I want to have this sort of information in this one and have it interconnected with these other pages, and it'll do all of that, which is super cool.
yeah, it works really well. I'm a big fan of it, and maybe something for next time, Nick, we can cover as well.
Yeah.
Have you heard of Manus, the company
Oh,
Metabot?
I have heard of Manus. Yeah,
So funny
I haven't used
enough,
it.
Manus came out with a cloud agent as well. So now you can run the workflows in on their VMs basically, which is very much the same thing. And you can say like, go do this thing every week, go write this newsletter every week, go do this. Um, I think the reason Manus becomes really important is because they're owned by Meta now. So they already have some exclusive partnerships when it comes to Facebook ads marketing and Facebook ads management. So I think they will have like an edge there where they just say like, go set up this campaign and we'll just like do it for you. So which is going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, super cool.
Amazing.
Nice. Talking about agents and using them to create stuff. My homework was to just create a slide deck, a pitch deck of my company. So
Yes.
Workflow Studio is my AI agency, and I did that for both Gemini and for through Claude Cowork. So let me share my screen, and I will share what happened. So I started with Gemini. I had the drive open with all of my clients' information, everything else, and said, okay, this was literally the prompt. Review everything in this drive and build a pitch deck in a PowerPoint presentation. That was it. I used the same exact prompt in Claude as well. And it said, got it. You just need to click create and you're all set. I did that. Here is the pitch deck. And I opened the pitch deck and it was completely empty. There was nothing in there. Gemini had not gotten to the point of giving me actual information. So I went back and forth. I was like, what's the deal? Where is the info? And then it said, yeah, sorry, didn't create it. Then it did create an outline with at least various slides of what should be in the deck,
Okay.
but that's not helpful. I mean, that's something, but we're not there yet. Like that was, so I was actually very, very underwhelmed with Gemini and how it worked here. I was assuming because it has Google Slides, because it's connected with everything, that it would be able to pull all the information. All of my information with my clients and my agency are all in a drive, but it was not there yet. It didn't do it. However, when I connected to Claude and I just said, I connected my Google Drive and I said the same exact prompt and with the link, it took a little bit of time. It did a lot of different things. And then finally, it created a pretty good slide deck, pitch deck
Wow.
of Workflow Studio, of exactly the different parts of what I do, the target audience that I have, my potential clients, the client work I've done, and it did a really, really nice job in terms of bringing this all together. And this was in literally 5 minutes.
That's awesome.
Then a lot of this information is also on my website. So I asked, did you go to my website? And it said no, just the drive. It didn't do any web crawls or anything. And it had pulled all of that information, which was really, really cool to see.
That's awesome.
So highly recommend. Fun to try these out. This is also a much safer way than OpenClaw and easier to test things out. And took 5 minutes and at least was set up really well and probably would give me some cool ideas on how I would want to have my pitch deck. A great way to start to then be able to tweak and make it better. And change it to make it look like how I want it to. But yeah,
that's really cool. Yeah, honestly, like Google has done so much, but like when it comes to the actual integration, still it's like it's bad. Even like in a Word doc or like in a Google Doc, and I'm like, go update this content. It's like I can't insert into the document. I'm like, why? Like, why? It's like it's just insane. They will get there. I have no doubt they will get there. Obviously, this touches like a lot of like enterprise customers. Their old kind of like structure they have to probably work through, but it's such an easy thing.
Google.
I know.
Come on. I mean, like, yes, they're a huge company. Yes, it's a lot of stuff, and I mean, maybe it's going to be sticky enough where they're going to keep enough clients to be able to do this, but like, it's like, hello, let's move. I'm very excited about this from Claude and like where it was going. With Claude Code, they're crushing it. Co-work now as well to make it less technical. They're really, moving in the right direction. And so even for me with various companies that I work with and stuff, it's kind of like, hey, move over to Claude Co-work and Claude because
it has all the
still integrate.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
You can connect really easily to your drive and connect and get all the information. And it's better.
But it's not GDPR friendly.
Oh boy. That's true. That's very true. Nice. Good way to end it.
Oh gosh. Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. No, trust me, I am with you. But like if you think about like 6 months from now, if Google has all this stuff, like you see like that's where coming, like it will be there, right? Like even in Google Slides, if you build a slide, and you have some content on it, but like beautify the slide. And it creates like a cheesy image that's like super AI generated, which is like fine, but like it'll get there. It's all a matter of like they have to prompt it too. They have to teach it like OpenClaw. So it's like it takes a lot of iterations to get it to a good point, basically.
All the teaching. All the teaching.
That's crazy. This is fun. Thank you for preparing that.
Of course. This was fun. Thanks for sharing OpenClaw. Super interesting stuff.
I'm hopeful
Let's do more of these demos.
Yes, I'm with you. I'm hopeful that I can share more examples next times that actually like show like a whole workflow end to end. This was a little bit too early, but the setup was great. So I will keep you posted. I will give a constant, little update and glimpse into the OpenClaw world. I'm still thinking through names right now. So I'm figuring out like what the naming structure is going to be. I think I'll make it a little bit of fun. So I'll have fun with it.
Yeah. And next time, I'd love to share. I've been working on a little app, a little fun app in Lovable
Oh,
recently, and so I'd love to share that and kind of share the learnings from that as well.
fantastic. All right. Well, another amazing episode, Nick. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank
Um,
you.
thank you for everything. These are fun, and we'll see you guys next time.
Sounds good.
All right.
Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
everybody. Bye.